Hi everyone, I'm Cullen Haynes and I'm, start again. Hi everyone, Cullen Haynes here and welcome to the Out of the Box series. Everyone, I've got a special treat for you today. I'm sitting in the presence of absolute greatness, Mr. Andy Founder of Gift631. How are you, sir?
Very, very well.
Thank you for coming on the Out of the Box series. We really appreciate your time.
Delighted to be here.
I'd love to hear, I probably already know it, but I'd love to tell us in one phrase what you actually do.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I suppose the place to start is to really share my mission.
Yes.
My mission is to positively impact more than 10 million lives.
Wow.
And that really underpins my purpose, which is to help as many people as possible strive to reach their true potential by being the wind beneath their wings they soar to new heights. So really that's what I'm about.
Fantastic. And what learnings did you draw? Because obviously you're in finance for a long time and you're the general manager of the retail division of St. George Bank.
I was.
What major learnings did you take from that role into what you're doing right now?
Yeah, and every business that I was ever involved in, I always believed that I needed to bring three things. The first thing is clarity, and Sir Isaac Newton once said, all I have is clarity. And
Yes.
I find most organisations, big or small, there's confusion, and people are not really clear about what matters most. And the second big learning is to then be consistent.
Yes.
Now, as a leader, if 1 week this is important, if next week that's important, if the week after something else is important,
Yes.
if everything's important, nothing's important. And then the third biggest thing of all was to make things as simple as possible. And one of my great leaders once said to me, our roles as leaders is to make the complex simple and the simple compelling. So clarity, consistency, simplicity. So getting really clear on the big picture, vision and strategy, but then really helping people get really clear at the most important part of the business, which is where the business interacts with customers and communities.
Like the pointy end, right?
Absolutely.
And the name Gift631, I'd love to know where that came from.
Gift631. Well, let's start with the 631 because I grew up at a property 631 Kenilworth Road, and my first great teacher was my grandfather.
Yes.
And once my grandmother died, Grandad used to come and stay with us for 3 months of
Yes.
each year. And I really used to look forward to those 3 months because he was such an amazing teacher, teaching me to... so he left school at 12.
Okay.
He was a stable boy, became a servant in a big country house in England. And his whole philosophy was to live life with a servant's heart, live life with a generous heart, live life with gratitude, always be doing people a good turn. Never worry if you get it back, just put good out into the universe.
Just give, right?
Give. And I wanted, my parents, but particularly my grandparents' legacy to live on in the name of my business. And gift, well, I journal every day, as you know, Cullen. And,
Yes.
And one day I'd written down 3 words that I wanted my business to be about, which was transformation, inspiration, and growth, personal, team, and business. But TIG, it just wasn't really doing it for me. And then one day I met someone who was, in some senses, very successful, but in another sense, lacked success.
Yes.
And they were saying, I get to work incredibly early in the day, I leave work incredibly late in the evening, and there's no fulfillment in my life. It's just work. For what purpose? Relationships were suffering, health was suffering. So I went home and I literally wrote down the word fulfillment. And when I woke up in the morning, it was like, it's a gift. Growth, inspiration, fulfillment, transformation.
Love that.
Hence, Gift631.
Gift631. And what I really resonate with and why I think it would be very compelling for you to, and we are, talk directly to our legal clients and community is that sense of fulfillment, because a lot of them work very early and go to late in the night, and I know many of them have confided in me that they're just on a hamster wheel, it seems. So I'd love to get your insights on how they can win the day.
Yeah, sure. Well, as you know, I believe success is Disney once said 95% systems, 5% magic.
5% magic.
If you want to get to the 5% magic, you've got to have the 95% systems. And I believe that's absolutely fundamental for busy professionals. So I start every day with my 4M routine, which is about getting into the ideal performance state, which is about the first M is movement. So I'm not necessarily saying people need to be a swimmer, a runner,
Don't have to be an athlete.
You don't need to be a gym junkie. You just need to move the body, stimulate the brain. It's very good for mental health as well.
Emotion comes from motion, right? So just move.
Completely love that. I think it's a great expression. So my first M is movement. My second M is doing a mind cleanse, which is literally sitting with a piece of paper. Your brain can only hold 4 thoughts at any one time. getting everything that's out of your mind down onto paper. And some of my clients describe it as a very freeing experience. Once it's committed to paper, they know it's there, and they can almost just put it to the back of their mind.
It's like cathartic, right? It's just
Completely.
It's like Dumbledore taking the thoughts out of his mind.
Absolutely. And then I can organise that into what I call my success list.
Yes.
So the 5 or 6 really key things that I have to get done that day.
Yes.
The third M, and I used to reject this, I used to think I was too busy for this, is meditation. Now I absolutely embrace meditation. I just do a simple 10-minute guided practice every single day. And it's unbelievable for reducing anxiety, reducing any stress, improving your memory actually, improving your focus, improving your concentration, and just lifting your state. And then I have an appointment with Mozart, which, as you know, is time for myself, by myself, with myself. No technology, no chance of disruption.
Yes.
Just me and my journal. So a lot of busy professionals, from the minute they wake up, they're into their inbox, they're into their meeting structures, and they're never out of it. This is for me to think more holistically about life. So I do that routine every single day. Then I do a simple act of gratitude, and then I time block my one thing, which is the most important thing I'm working on at that time, before I even open my inbox.
Before you even get into the inbox.
Completely. Then you know whatever else happens in the rest of your day, you've achieved a great deal, and you feel really good about yourself.
And that act of gratitude, it can be something simple like sending your spouse a text or...
Oh, absolutely. A simple message on LinkedIn or WeChat or WhatsApp, or a handwritten card, or a friend, a family member, a loved one, a colleague, an old colleague, a client, a new client, an ex-client. There's millions of ways you can just do simple acts of
just
gratitude.
Something simple.
And it's really just living up to my grandfather's expectation of just putting good into the universe.
And you'll get it back.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know when, you don't know where, you don't know how, but over time, the benefit will accumulate and you'll get so much back.
Fantastic. I love that. And we'll just make sure we're on time. I think we're doing really well. We're at 7 minutes. Perfect. And we're halfway through.
Brilliant.
Alrighty. This is a good one. Now, I'd love to know your insights on this, Andy. What qualities do you think it takes to be a leader, especially in the 21st century?
Yeah, absolutely. Leadership to me it's all around authenticity. And I think great leaders are really true to themselves, regardless of everything that's going on around them. It's about being very centered. And one of my early mentors said to me, you cannot sell yourself to others until you really know yourself.
Good point.
And coming, from a leadership position of that's coming from inside you,
yes,
and is not a reflection of the environment around you.
Yes.
I think really matters. And then I think it's about doing simple things brilliantly, and that's being absolutely present with whatever you're doing. So if you're with one of your people, you're 100% present in the moment with that individual. And of course, great leaders have got to make sure that they think about the really big picture, as we said it earlier. But they've also got to get those one-on-one interactions absolutely right. Great leaders are great communicators. They set a really clear vision, they set a really clear picture, and then they're able to influence all of those around them to come on the journey. Not by force, not by control, but by influence and persuasion and communication.
Leadership by fear and leadership by, just saying, I'll get that sorted. I've known many managers in my time, good and bad, and some of them, the worst ones, were the worst communicators. Like, they talk to you while they're emailing, and it's like, can you do this? It's like they're not even giving you that face-to-face one-on-one time.
Yeah, a complete lack of respect. And to me, you can't command respect. You've got to earn respect, and that's through your actions.
Yes.
And I think that's the other part of great leadership, where words and actions are completely aligned.
Yes, there's that one message. And was it your grandfather who inspired you to be a leader you are today, or was there someone else?
My grandfather absolutely inspired me to be the person I am today. I was very fortunate in the early part of my career, and I do believe, by the way, winners go to winners, which is why I just love spending any time I get with yourself. But early in my career, I worked for 3 amazing leaders. I was an executive assistant, and many people were like, what are you going to do that for? And I was working for the managing director of a bank in the UK. He taught me all about how business gets done. He taught me all about big thinking, about being very respectful under tremendous pressure, and how you handle yourself in pressure times. I then worked for a guy who taught me all about fun and people and culture. And then I worked for a guy who I worked for a long time,
yes,
who taught me all around really balancing those things with with setting the bar high, big goals, performance, discipline, structure, as well as being, great with your people and having real clarity of vision and strategy. So I believe I became a combination of those three amazing leaders, whilst I really found, my true self.
Yes, it's very similar to that Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill spent time with Andrew Carnegie,
Totally,
and mirrored him. And I think what does Tony Robbins call it? Complete immersion in what they're doing, and then that rubs off onto you.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. People often say to me, should I have a mentor? And I say, why only have one? Why not have 4 or 5, many mentors? So you can immerse yourselves in just different parts of truly great people. And aspirational mentors who, and I do agree with Jim Rohn that we become, the sum of the 5 or 6 people that we spend most of our time with. So make sure it's really aspirational, optimistic, positive, action-orientated people that are going to lift you.
No, and I think that's another thing. That's a side note that many managers, they want to be the smartest person in the room, or many leaders want to be. But you want to surround yourself, your team. You want them to be smarter than you.
Completely. I mean, what was my great success as a leader? That I just looked at what great people did. I learnt it. I copied it. I had my own 10% winning edge, and essentially, I just hired a leadership team that was better than me in every position. And then we agreed the 3 most important things that we had to do, and then we did them. There you go.
You make it seem so simple, Andy. I love that. Networking. I believe in Circulate to Percolate. Why do you believe networking is so important, Andy? Especially for legal professionals.
Absolutely. And, as we know, the legal profession, like every other profession, is being disrupted. It's disrupting itself. There's so much change. And I think we all need to stay relevant. How do we stay relevant? Well, first of all, you cannot outgrow your level of self-development.
No.
But secondly, relationships are the foundation of everything. And for me, networking. But networking in 2 ways. It's the traditional way of pressure in the flesh and face-to-face networking, but it's also amazing social networking. I think creating a personal and business brand through the various social media platforms is the other side of networking that I still believe a lot of professionals need to catch up on.
Yeah, especially LinkedIn as well.
LinkedIn's just the most amazing professional platform.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's I think a lot of people don't like the fact that it's sort of blurring into Facebook and things like that. But I always say business is personal, and sometimes it's nice to see people with their family or what inspires them and things like that, because then you get to know the real person.
I mean, the thing, Cullen, it will go where the energy is.
Yes.
And if the energy is there, that's where it will go. And there's no point you or I or anyone else resisting that. To me, go where the energy is. And the other thing, I go to a lot of networking functions.
Yes.
Where I often wonder, why are people there? Because you see
just to get the business cards.
You see 2 or 3 people from the same company talking to each other in a corner, and I go, well, why don't you just stay in the office and do that? So I always go with a very, very clear goal.
Yeah.
That every time I go to a networking function, if I can walk out with 3 coffees, not having had 3 coffees, but with 3 coffees, thanks, 3 coffees in the diaries, 3 appointments, that's success.
That's successful.
Yeah, so it's a clear goal, clear measure of success.
Grant Cardone says that as well. Like when he goes to a function, he goes, well, I'm not going to add value to this guy because I see him every day.
Right.
I see her every day. You go do your own thing, I'll go do my own thing.
Absolutely.
If you go to an event together, sit somewhere else.
Completely. And then debrief at the end.
How can you empower your people effectively as a leader?
Yeah, brilliant question.
Yeah.
So empowerment to me is a system. So a lot of people, I coach, I'll say to them, describe your leadership style.
Yeah.
And then I'll say to me, I'm a really empowering leader. So I'll say to them, so your people are empowered to do what? And they'll kind of go, well, they're empowered. So I'll say, so they're empowered to change the company name, they're empowered to do this.
What's the focus?
They're empowered. And they'll say, well, no, of course not. That would just be stupid. And then I say to them, look, my favourite quote on management is like holding a dove. If you hold it too tightly, you kill it. So you get less and less discretionary effort if you micromanage everything. But equally, if you hold it too loosely, it flies away. So when I first heard that, and that was by an American baseball coach called Tommy Lasorda.
Wow, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, just a brilliant. I wish he'd used the word leadership and not management, but anyway. So to me, I first heard that, a significant number of years ago, and I said to myself, well, clearly, to be a highly empowering leader, I need to set parameters. So people are free to operate within those parameters, but equally they know what they need to refer to me as they want to as their one of line manager.
Yeah.
And equally, they know what's a no-go area. So empowerment only works if you know what you're empowered to do, you know what you're empowered to refer, and you know where there's no empowerment whatsoever. And then within that zone of empowerment, when I delegate, people get 51% of the vote. Now that means I've got the other 49, but the other person can make the decision.
Yeah.
Because I see so many instances where people say, I'm an empowering leader, I'm a brilliant delegator, they delegate something, the individual comes up with something they don't like,
and then
they just
they're
go,
surprised.
No, let's just do this. And then the person goes, well, please never delegate to me again.
Because there's no point, because you're going to do it anyway.
Right. So delegate, give people 51% of the vote, make it mistake safe, high level of trust, high level of mutual respect, and then reduce bureaucracy and red tape. So, I see instances where people empower and delegate, then they said, would you just feed back to me every 5 minutes how you're getting on?
Yes.
So I spend more time feeding back than I actually do doing the do. So there's some of my, that's my system for empowerment, to really enable people to, you set direction, you check understanding, you get out of the way.
No, I really resonate with that, and I think it goes hand in hand with your number one rule for communication.
Yes. So my number one rule for communication, Franz Klammer's career is going downhill fast. So if you know who Franz Klammer is, I'm talking about an Olympic downhill skiing champion. If you've no idea who Franz Klammer is, Franz Klammer's career is going downhill fast. You think we're talking about a failing business person. Yeah. So communication to me, it's not what you or I say. It's not even what's heard. It's what's perceived from what's heard.
What people think.
Yeah, what people think and what people perceive. So often, again, I'll meet a leader who say, I can't believe this. I gave everyone the same message. And they're all going off in different directions. And I say, well, that's
it's a shocker.
You failed the Franz Klammer test. And they go, what's that? And I said, Franz Klammer's career's going downhill fast. It's not what you say. It's not what they hear. It's what they perceive. So this lack of just checking understanding in business to me is incredible. We waste so much time from one communication that ends up with people going wider and wider from the original expectation.
Well, you're a big proponent of don't CC me in an email because you're not going to read it.
I'm not going to read it. Yeah.
So, only if it's directed.
Yeah.
And I think Jim Rohn said this, in a room, if you give a speech to 1,000 people, your character is something you can control. So you've got one character, but then you end up with 1,000 different reputations from that one speech.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's very empowering. Now, I'll just check that we're still going for the last question. 18 minutes and we're on our final question. And I cut these out. All right, so we can have our hands on the table for this one, Andy. This is our final question. I love the theatre. If there's one point people can get out of you in this video today, what would you like it to be?
So, in summary, there is no one point.
Okay.
So the summary for me is, the one point is you need to develop a system. I believe success, like I said earlier, is 95% systems, 5% magic. So what I'd love people to take away from here is to think about, well, what are the winning routines and habits that I need to develop into my one system?
Yes.
Which will then propel me in the direction of my goals.
Really, really good note to end on. Thank you for your time, Andy.
No, thank you. I've absolutely loved it.
It's been great. So
brilliant.
And where can we find you? You got your journal as well that we can get people onto?
Yeah,
as well?
I mean the best place to find me, we've mentioned it earlier, is through LinkedIn. Andy Fell. Gift631 is a Facebook page.
Yes.
I've got my YouTube channel, a lot of free content on the YouTube channel. Lots
of great nuggets in there, guys.
Or Andy Fell at gift631.com.
And I'll put the link in the show notes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Out of the Box, everyone. Take care.